source of those problems.
But one Lake City man
Officers have to deal with on a daily basis, but generally they are not the source of those problems.
But one Lake City man says the lies and drug habits of a Lake City police officer cost him 30 days in jail and could have sent him to prison for 15 years. On Your Side's Ann Schindler sat down with a man who says his troubles all began with a bad relationship.
Well, Jeannie, everyone's heard a story about a vengeful ex wreaking havoc on the life of a former love interest. But in Jason Benoit's case, it's a little different. He says his ex had the buy-in of a Lake City police officer.
It's July 1st, 2014.
Jason Benoit had just returned from work when Lake City police showed up at his door.
I said, "Can I help you?" He says, "Yeah, I need to talk to you, man. Can you come on down here?" And I said, "Sir, I don't know what this is about." I said, "But I can tell you right now, I didn't do it, man."
His ex-girlfriend had accused him of stalking. By now, it was a familiar allegation.
This is the third time that she has had called on me to get me in trouble. And I said, all she's trying to do is get me violated so I go back to prison.
Benoit had spent 5 years at Hamilton Correctional Institution, serving part of a 25-year sentence for forging oxycodone prescriptions.
You know, I did my 5 years and I got out and I said, you know what, I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna do right and I'm not gonna leave my child again and I'm gonna make sure of that.
The stalking arrest threatened everything, and he told Officer Gerald Ford that the allegations weren't true.
She's lying, she's lying. Oh, no, she ain't lying, she's crying. I said, sir, I said, this is wrong. I said, this is dead wrong.
I've never seen anything like this where...
Attorney Andrew Bonrud says the charges weren't just false, they were provably false.
There's no evidence that he did any of this.
Benoit's ex claimed he'd called her 23 times, emailed her, and hacked her Facebook account. All of the allegations were reported as fact. Officer Ford even amended his report twice, adding details like dates and times of the calls.
Phone records revealed that he didn't call anyone 23 times. She didn't receive 23 phone calls from anyone.
A state attorney's office investigator eventually pulled all of Benoit's phone records and found there were no calls. There were no emails. Benoit's ex-girlfriend was later prosecuted for filing a false police report. But not before Benoit was jailed for violating probation. He spent 30 days behind bars and was facing the 15 years that remained on his 2008 drug charge.
It's not me that I'm really so mad about. It's because of my child. My son's got to tell me, you know, Dad, you promised me you'd never leave me again. What do you say? I mean, how do you act?
It's not clear why Officer Ford included the false information in his report. But a few weeks after Benoit's arrest, he tested positive for cocaine and marijuana and resigned from the Lake City Police Department.
You can't do cocaine and be a police officer. You can't. And you can't do cocaine and marijuana and be a police officer, because stuff like this happens. Somebody who's innocent ends up in jail for 30 days. Yeah.
Now, we reached out to the Lake City Police Department. They referred us to their lawyer, citing the pending litigation. She did not return phone calls, and we're still waiting to hear. Ann Schindler, First Coast News.
And thank you so much. Well, what a big...
Now to the other big story tonight. Debris
Coke using cop jails man on phony stalking charge. On July 1, 2014, Jason Benoit came home from work, showered, and was preparing for a quiet night when Lake City police showed up at his door. "Sir," he remembers telling the officer, "I don't know what this is about, but I can tell you right now I didn't do it." Benoit's ex-girlfriend had accused him of stalking, and by now it was a familiar allegation. She'd accused him of domestic violence or stalking 3 times, an effort, he claims, to send him back to prison. Benoit had already served 5 years in Hamilton Correctional Institution in Jasper as part of a 25-year sentence for forging oxycodone prescriptions. It's a crime he owns up to, and a punishment that made him determined to never return. "I think they were harsh on me for what they gave me, for my first time in trouble," he muses. "I think I needed some counseling or some help. But I did my 5 years, and I got out. I decided I'm going to do right, and I'm not going to leave my child again." The stalking arrest threatened to take him away from his then 9-year-old boy. He told Officer Gerald Ford the allegation wasn't true. I said she's lying, she's lying. He says the officer responded, oh no, she ain't lying, she's crying. According to Ford's report, his ex claimed Benoit called her 23 times, emailed her, and hacked her FB account. Ford reported her allegations as fact. He even amended his report twice over the next month, adding details like dates and times of the alleged calls. Unfortunately, attorney Andrew Bondarud says, the charges weren't just false, they were provably false. The phone records reveal he didn't call anyone 23 times, she didn't receive 23 phone calls from anyone. He didn't call her, and she certainly didn't receive a phone call from him. An investigator with the state attorney's office in Columbia County eventually pulled Benoit's phone records and those of his ex. They found no calls. They could find no emails. The absence of evidence was so overwhelming, the state charged Benoit's ex-girlfriend filing a false police report, for which she served 30 days in jail. But not before Benoit was jailed for violating the terms of his probation. He spent 30 days behind bars and faced potentially being sent away for the 15 years that remained on his 2008 drug charge. It's not me that I'm really so mad about, it's because of my child, my little boy, says Benoit. My son got to tell me, Dad, you promised me you'd never leave me again. What do you say to that? How do you act? Asked what he did say, Benoit tears up. I said, I just told him, I'm not going to leave you. It's not clear why Ford included the false information in his report, or why he continued to amend it with false information. But on July 18, just a few weeks after Benoit's arrest, Ford tested positive for cocaine and marijuana. On July 28, he resigned from the Lake City Police Department. This officer has no business being an officer, no business being on the force, Bondarud says. Bondarud is suing the department and the former officer on behalf of Benoit, citing a violation of his Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure. Lake City officials declined comment due to the pending litigation. Police Chief Argatha Gilmore referred calls to the department's lawyer, who did not return a call for comment. Bondarud says it seems likely the officer's drug use was a contributing cause to the insufficiency of his report, and Benoit's wrongful arrest. But even if it was not, the fact remains that Mr. Benoit didn't do what he was alleged to have done. There were no facts supporting the allegations. And the officer, for whatever reason, did not undertake an objectively reasonable investigation. You can't do this and be a police officer, he adds. And you can't do cocaine and do marijuana because stuff like this happens. Somebody's who innocent ends up in jail for 30 days.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, That would be great if it did happen, but you know, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, you know, at least I can do it. You know, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, you know, if I got, you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now. You know, $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.